scientist, and today I've put on my beaten up old jeans because I want to explain to you why the phrase no pain, no gain is not necessarily a good one for an athlete to live by, particularly if that athlete has tendon damage. Now, tendon is the material that connects our muscles to our bone, and it has to be very strong because our muscles transmit very large forces. Now, to understand that, we need to think back to the playground and the good old seesaw. Now, when you were playing on the seesaw, you were learning some important things about levers and pivots. And the most important thing that you learned was that the closer you get to the pivot point, the more force you have to apply to lift the object on the other end. Now, if we take this back to my very puny little bicep muscle here, you can see that my muscle attaches very close to the pivot point, my elbow. And so it has to transmit very large forces to lift up my arm. And so in turn, my tendons have to be very strong. Now, tendons achieve this by having a structure a lot like rope. Tendons are made up of fibres that are in turn made up of smaller fibres that are in turn made up of smaller fibres, and so on, right down to fibres that are 100,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. Now, this produces a structure that's very strong and very flexible, a lot like rope, but a lot like rope, it's also fairly damage-proof. If I break one of my fibres, there's still a lot of fibres there to carry the load. Now, tendon actually has a huge advantage over materials like rope, and that's that it's a living material containing cells. And the cells in our body are able to adapt the materials around them to better suit the loading that they're feeling. What I mean is that the more I stretch my tendon in one direction, the more the cells will strengthen it in that direction to help it resist the forces that it's feeling. In other words, unlike my jeans, which have become worn out during use, the more I use my tendons, the stronger they become. But it gets even better than this, because it turns out that if I damage my tendons, the cells are actually able to fix the tendons, patching it back together. Not like I've patched this knee of my jeans back together to prevent further damage. And actually, whereas I will have to discard these jeans because, let's face it, they're falling apart and that's a temporary fix, the cells continue repairing the material, gradually laying down stronger and stronger material to replace the patch. But this tailorability takes huge amounts of time because tendon structure is so intricate. And it's this that athletes fall foul of, because when they continue to train on a damaged tendon, they're actually training on that very weak scar tissue and they risk damaging it further. And that's why no pain, no gain is not a good motto. Or at least that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.